What's up everyone, and welcome back to a new skill cap video. Our analysts have been hard at work digging up some of the most insane new Korean builds that we're excited to share with you guys for 11.4. All of these builds are being played by Korean pros or have very high win rates in Korean solo queue, so you can be sure everything we mention is legit. If you guys have been playing a new build that we don't feature in this video, then be sure to let us know in the comments. And to stay up to date with all the best new trends for each and every patch, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you can be the first to get ahead of the meta. So with that being said, let's get started. The first build we need to mention is one that got heavily buffed back in 11.3. What we're referring to is a Verdant Barrier Rush. Cost of the item was reduced from 1200 down to 1000, and you now gain stacking magic resist on unit kill, similar to the passive on Seeker's Arm Guard. Once you fully stack the MR, which really doesn't take long at all, Verdant Barrier is 126% gold efficient, which is pretty insane. As you would when buying Seekers, you'll just sit on this Verdant Barrier and complete your other core items. Finishing Banshees isn't necessary until later on in the game. You can pick Verdant up on your AP top laners, junglers, or mid laners depending on the situation. In games where the enemy has an AP jungle and the lane opponent you're playing against is also AP, then you should rush the item without question. When against a burst mage or assassin, you completely nullify their ability to all-in and make them so much more useless just by purchasing this item. The stats even back up the strength of the item as well. Our analysts looked at a bunch of AP champions and the win rates behind the items they rush. Verdant won more than any other item. As long as you're purchasing Verdant in the correct situations, it's such a broken pickup for the patch. The next OP build is actually giving Irelia some decent viability, as it consists of a Shieldbow second. Immortal Shieldbow was buffed just last patch, and it's winning an insane amount on Irelia. Shieldbow purchase second holds a 58% win rate compared to the more popular Trinity Force at 53%. The sample size is even pretty solid as well for Shieldbow, with over 13,000 games played. To back the build up even more, Korean pros including BDD, Doran, and Someday are all abusing it in solo queue. You'll still rush Blade of the Rune King and then grab the Shieldbow second. Most pros transition into a tankier option third, like Wit's End, Randuin's, or Guardian Angel, but what's more popular in solo queue is actually a Rage Blade. If side laning and winning 1v1 is your win con, then Rage Blade would be a great purchase, but if you're planning to teamfight, a tankier option would be more beneficial. The amount of sustain and 1v1 power you have with this setup just makes it super crazy. The lifesteal from both Shieldbow and Bork combined with the healing from Aurelia's kit puts her dueling power on another level. Shieldbow even gives you a nice bit of added tankiness from the passive shield, so you won't be bursted out and blown up as quickly as you would with Trinity Force. The next top lane build we have is for Fiora, and it's being popularized by Korean pro Naguri. The build consists of an Essence Reaver Rush, and then, like on Irelia, that Shieldbow second. Both of these items were buffed in previous patches, and we've seen this combination already become really popular on the Gangplank. Since the more popular build of Gore Drinker into Ravenous was just recently nerfed, this opens things up for these new builds to come around and start to shine. ER and Shieldbow provide you with a lot more burst and upfront damage compared to the more standard Gore into Ravenous. You'll have 40% crit on the 2-item spike, which especially allows for you to chop down those tanks much faster. The Spellblade proc from Essence Reaver is really high value on Fiora since her Q is on such a short cooldown. The mana back is also super nice since you can run into mana troubles on the champ. You lose out on a bit of tankiness, but as long as your Shieldbow passive shield is active, that technically gives you an extra 300 or more HP. Naguri has also been experimenting with a different rune page on his Fiora, rolling with Fleet instead of Conqueror. He's abusing the Overheal rune along with Taste of Blood to have so much more added sustain. With Fiora receiving some direct buffs here with 11.4, she's going to become much stronger now, so be sure to use this new build to get ahead of the meta. Let's have a look at a few jungle builds now. First one up is emerging on Kayn, and it's really interesting with a Prowler's Claw Rush into a Manamune second. So many top-tier Korean pros like Canyon and Yosik have been using this a ton in solo queue. Shadow Kayn has really been on this rise as of recent due to the Gore Drinker nerfs a few patches back. The full build consists of grabbing a tier on your first base, Prowler's Claw next, and then completing Manamune second. Prowler's Claw is just so undervalued right now on a lot of AD assassin picks. I bet many of you didn't even know the active not only provides you with the dash, but also amplifies your damage on that target for 15% over the next 3 seconds. On someone like Kayn, who can burst super fast with his full combo, you dash in with your Prowlers and then spam all your abilities so they are guaranteed to deal that 15% extra damage. Manamune is a really good value for Kayn since he's all about coming online super hard at form and taking over the mid game. Manamune gives him a massive mid-game spike, and he stacks the tier up super fast due to the short CD on Q. Since Kayn's Q is such a spammable ability, you run into mana issues with other builds, but that's never a problem when building Manamune, allowing him to stay on the map longer and be more impactful. Phantom Dancer second on Graves is another new jungle build outperforming everything else on the champion. PD was buffed for 11.3, and players haven't really caught on fully as to how strong the item is now. On top of this, Lord Dominic slotted in third is also seeing a ton of success on Graves after its buffs. The full build consists of a Shieldbow rush into Phantom Dancer second and then Lord Dom's third to complete the trifecta of newly buffed items. Stat-wise, PD currently wins about 3% more than the Collector on Graves, and Lord Dom's has an identical win rate to IE and Bloodthirster as a third pickup. The insane extra move speed that Phantom Dancer provides synergizes really well with Graves' kit, as he wants to be right up in the enemy's face to deal maximum damage. You're getting a little bit of every stat that Graves wants as well with the AD, ramping attack speed and crit. Lord Dominic's is a great third pickup, especially against tankier comps. However, it can be interchanged for BT if you want more survivability or IE for more burst. A new mid lane build you'll want to start spamming on Sylas for 11.4 is an Everfrost rush into a Cosmic Drive or Zanya's second. Everfrost saw some pretty massive buffs this patch, with the build path becoming more convenient, health becoming increased, and the damage on the active going up as well. The item was already being purchased by pros like Chovy and Ucal on 11.3, so you can bet they'll be spamming it even more now. The active slow or root is just so great for Sylas, as it gives him such insane sticking power, and if the root hits, combined with his E, the potential CC lockdown can last 2.5 seconds. As for Cosmic Drive, on item completion, you'll now receive 40 ability haste, and if you combine that with the 20 haste from Everfrost and 20 from going Lucidity Boots, you'll have an insane 80 haste, the equivalent of 45% CDR for your mid-game spike. Cooldown reduction is such a great stat for Sylas, since his sustain from W becomes ridiculously strong, and his consistent dueling power goes through the roof. Sylas was just directly buffed in 11.3, so those changes along with these item buffs will make him a much more worthwhile pickup. Faker, Ucal, and BDD have all been abusing a new Bruiser build for their Viego mid, being a Stridebreaker rush into Sterix and Guardian Angel. So many champions who were previous Gore Drinker abusers have now swapped over to Stridebreaker and are seeing way better results with the item. In our Hidden Gems build video for 11.3, we talked about how Aatrox's popping off with Stridebreaker now, and other picks like Viego are following suit. The dash and slow from Stridebreaker active actually has really great synergy with Viego's W. Since Viego's W is a skill shot and not the easiest to land, use the Stridebreaker active first to slow the opponent, and then it becomes so much easier to line up the skill shot and hit your stun. Come mid-game, you'll have a 700 bonus HP from Stride and Sterix along with the Sterix shield, so your ability to stick around in fights and be more of a disruptor is really insane. You won't have the same one-shot power as Bork and Kraken, but you're offered a lot more reliability out of the Bruiser build. One mistake with the Kraken build and you're just dead due to being full glass cannon, whereas you have so much more margin for error when choosing the Stridebreaker setup. We already covered the recent rise in power of Phantom Dancer on Graves, but let's now look at a bunch of ADCs who weren't buying PD before that should now be grabbing the item second. Tristana, Ashe, Varus, and Kai'Sa are 4 picks that should be slotting Phantom Dancer into their second item slot. Since the PD buffs, the item has been outperforming everything else in those champs as a second purchase. The more popular second item on Varus and Ashe has been Hurricane, but PD is winning about 3% more on both picks. For Tristana, Phantom Dancer outperforms Stormrazor by just over 1%, and then on Kai'Sa, the Collector is the more popular pickup, but PD is outperforming it by around 2%. Once you get the benefit out of the ramping attack speed from PD by autoing 4 times, the item becomes 132% gold efficient. Compare this to something like Hurricane that's only 84% efficient without its bolts, and you can see why the gap in win rate between the items is so large. If you're not actively hitting multiple targets in fights with the Runan's bolts, then PD is going to provide you with so much more power. So for 11.4, unless the enemy team has a massive front line, you should opt for PD instead of Hurricane on Varus and Ashe. As for Kai'Sa and Trist, pick up PD second now in every single game. If you guys want to look at the complete builds for all these champs, then take a quick glance here as we'll have them up on the screen. It feels like Draven has been pushed to the sidelines a little as of recent, but he's starting to perform much better with this new build. Arrow, along with many other Korean high elo Dravens, have been running Essence Reaver second on him and reaping great benefits. Any ADC Mythic can work as your starting item, just comes down to preference and the situation, into Essence second and then Infinity Edge third. The Spellblade proc from Essence Reaver puts a massive dent in the enemy's HP bar with just a single axe. If you decide to go Kraken as your rush item, then the burst is super nutty when you proc that Kraken true damage combined with the ER Spellblade. The ability for Draven to spam W out when kiting and catching axes makes it so that you'll be proccing Spellblade off cooldown and getting the maximum value from it. Draven's mana issues are really shored up as well by going ER, and it just allows for you to be a more consistent threat throughout extended fights. So many players are still tunneling on the Collector for Draven and Kai'Sa, so it's important you look to adjust to the meta and get ahead of everyone else. Ashe support with Cosmic Drive second is one we admittedly never would have thought of ourselves, but it makes a ton of sense when you think about it. Grab a tier on your first base, rush Imperial Mandate after that, into Cosmic Drive second, and then Manamune third. The whole idea behind Ashe support is being able to spam out your ult as often as possible to find picks. With the Cosmic Drive buffs this patch providing you with more ability haste, the item becomes so much better for Ashe. You'll have the equivalent of 45% CDR once you complete Mandate, Cosmic Drive, and Lucidity Boots, which if you're level 11 or higher, lowers your ult down to 50 seconds. If you take Ultimate Hunter and Runes and get that fully stacked, the ult cooldown can drop to as low as 43 seconds. Ashe's W cooldown will also drop super low, reaching 2.2 seconds when maxed out on that 2-item spike. Since the slow from volley lasts for 2 seconds, this build gives Ashe support so much consistent disruption in fights and allows her to pretty much perma-slow the opponents. If you're someone who enjoys playing these off-meta picks and builds, then we would highly recommend trying out some Cosmic Drive Ashe support in 11.4. So there you have it, guys. Those are some of the best new builds here for 11.4 that you should be looking to abuse before they become meta. To ensure you don't miss out on the next edition of this video, subscribe with those notifications on so you can get a quick leg up on everyone else. Thanks for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we'll catch you back here soon.